What's up, everyone? Welcome back to After the Storm. This is the Canes game review for game number 58 of the season, a 3-1 win over the Philadelphia Flyers. In introing this game, Freddie Andersen back from a bit of an injury. Didn't seem too serious, but obviously Canes erring on the side of caution with him and making sure he doesn't rush back and be injured for longer. At the other end of the ice, Martin Jones getting the start. I think this is his second consecutive start against Carolina this season. Stepan's in for Jarvis, and this also wraps up the season series between Carolina and Philadelphia. But before we get to the first period, we obviously do have something to talk about, something very newsworthy that's been making the rounds in the past couple, I'd say probably about 12 to 15 hours. As originally reported by Andy Strickland, who typically covers the St. Louis Blues, but has a habit of dropping some news in here or there that does not pertain to St. Louis. He drops this in. This number did, of course, change that you're seeing on the screen. I believe it is at 4.9 is the final number here, but it looks like a long-term extension is coming for Jesperi Kotkaniemi. So KK, of course, the subject of a lot of fans' minds, like still in Montreal. I'm not going to fault any Habs fans because, I mean, when your management group, who is now no longer there, botches something like this poorly, you probably have a right to be angry or be in disbelief. And at the time of the 2018 draft, Kotkaniemi at number 3 was a stretch, and it still shows to be a stretch. Fourth was Brady Tkachuk in that draft, and I don't think, in my opinion, I think that was also a stretch at 4. He was just a little bit more NHL ready than the guys around him. There was, of course, some better players available, namely Quinn Hughes comes to mind in this draft here, but at the point it is, maybe he gets taken a little bit too high or just doesn't fit because he's a player that gets drafted for position. Now, at the time of this pick, Montreal needed a center. They got their center here. Now, again, if you look down this list, there's not a whole lot of centers in this list, not natural centers at least. And a whole lot of them aren't really doing a whole lot in the NHL. So in potentially redrafting this draft, you would probably have Kotkaniemi just outside of the top 5. I think most people would take Quinn Hughes as maybe number 2 or number 3, with Svechnikov potentially going 1 or 2, depending on how you look at Rasmus Dahlin. But that's neither really here nor there. So obviously the offer sheet in the offseason has caused Habs fans a lot of grief to an extent. The management situation and the cap management and everything in Montreal is such that Bergevin left them kind of a mess, and one of his parting things was to acquire Christian Dvorak with the picks that they got for Jesperi Kotkaniemi from Carolina here. Now, we're not going to make this much about the Canadians, but obviously there has been some really big missteps by that management team that are probably going to have to be fixed by Kent Hughes now. But nevertheless, a reported extension, I believe it comes in at 4.9, so just under 5 for the full 8 years, cannot be finalized until March 21st here, according to Chris Johnston of the CJ Show, the Toronto Star and TSN. Obviously, some deliberation between Cap Friendly and everything this on this subject today, but the good news is that KK is sticking around Carolina. Now, let's talk about the contract. So 8 years is a lot to invest into a player, of course. KK is still pretty young. In his limited amount of time playing up the lineup when the COVID situation was happening with Carolina early on in the season, right around December, KK stepped up in those situations and produced very, very well. 8 points in 8 games. He can play up the lineup, but it seemed early on in the season he wasn't capable of it. Now, there's probably a multitude of factors that attributed to that. Most likely is you're moving to a new team. It's not always the smoothest of transitions. And as we've seen with players like Jake Gardiner, Brady Shea, among others, it takes a little while for a player to get into a system and become effective within it. So KK has been hidden down the lineup quite a bit in Carolina. He's mostly played his time as a fourth liner center, especially in the second half of this season. He occasionally goes up the lineup, and when he does, he's pretty effective. And taking a look at this player card from JFresh Hockey on Twitter, Jesperi Kotkaniemi reportedly extended 8 by 4.4, which is 4.9, by Carolina as a defense-first center who has intriguingly played very limited fourth-line minutes with Carolina so far this season. And this is pretty accurate. If we're taking a look, he skews more to the defensive end of play. He's a middle-of-the-pack effective player from a wins above replacement percentage level this season in Carolina, but has played pretty decently when he does go up, as I mentioned before. So coming out of this, there's really two schools of thought. Actually, I'm going to say three schools of thought here. First is that this deal could be very bad for Carolina. KK could not grow into this center role that is looking like he's going towards, or at least going to be playing income next season, and the contract is a bit abysmal. The other one is it could be a steal. He could develop into a 2C or a potentially 1C, although I doubt he's ever going to dethrone Aho as the 1C in Carolina. He could grow into that dynamic second line center that should have happened in Montreal. And there's a third one too, and that seems to be that he might just be a solid $4.9 million third line center for the foreseeable future. I'm not going to say for the rest of his career, but for the foreseeable future. And I don't think any of these outcomes is entirely ridiculous. Like, KK could just be not great. He's shown flashes of being really good. He's shown flashes of being very ineffective. So we don't know until we know. And that's going to take a few years to see. And what's really good is Carolina is starting to solidify what the team looks like next year. And this brings me to my next point. Some teams around the league have already made some moves. Today, Colorado extended their backup goaltender Pavel Francouz. They gave him a $2 million by $2 million, or $2 million by 2 year, I should say, extension. Dallas re-signed Joe Pavelski earlier this week to a 1 year, $5.5 million deal. And now Carolina has extended Jesperi Kotkaniemi. So I think what we're doing here is we're kind of gearing up for one of the, if not the most quiet trade deadline we've had in many, many years. Now, there's one big signal that this contract here is giving off to me, and that's Vincent Trocheck will not be back with the Carolina Hurricanes either after the deadline or next season. Now, I say it's more likely than not going to be next season because I highly doubt, unless Carolina can get a forward in who is either just as good or better than Vincent Trocheck with term, they're probably not going to move Vincent Trocheck. But I doubt at this point, coming into this offseason, I doubt there's going to be enough room to sign Nichas, enough room to have Kotkaniemi's contract, even though it's going to drop down a little bit, go there. I think there's another couple of players that are up. Bear is one of them as an RFA. Now, there is control on those types of players, but that doesn't mean that a arbitration case doesn't start screwing up some stuff. Big off season coming up, and Carolina has now solidified at least one aspect of what next season is going to look like. Anyways, let's get into the first period of this game against Philadelphia. Early on in the first, Anderson makes a big stop on a Kevin Hayes slap shot. An awkward rebound hits off of Ian Cole. Frederik Andersen dives back into the crease. It makes a terrific stop. Derek Stepan, who is a Canes player that will be highlighted at the end of this video, had a terrific afternoon in this one. He deflects a puck in tight early on in the game, gets a rebound. Martin Jones there, however, to make the save. Philadelphia takes the first penalty of the game. Carolina goes to the power play. Philadelphia would kill it off, but Trocheck would have a nice chance off a deflection in front. Chatfield takes a cross-checking penalty shortly after, sending Philadelphia to the power play. Cam York from the point, a newer addition to the Flyers lineup this season. A dynamic, smaller, left-handed, kind of agile defender playing on the power play. He gets a shot off, a one-timer, hits the crossbar, and Carolina kills off that penalty. The league's best penalty kill continues its work, and we end the first period tied 0-0. On to the second period, Martinook early, about 5 minutes in, rather, because this is really when the game started slowing down. Martinook takes a tripping penalty on Travis Konechny. Philadelphia to their second power play of the game. Kevin Hayes off the immediate faceoff as the puck goes towards the Carolina net. He goes off for hooking, so we go to 4-on-4. Svechnikov comes down, rips a shot wide, gets another chance off of a great Brady Shea pass, comes in on the breakaway, shoots. I'm not sure if this one was going wide. It looked like it did on the broadcast, but it does in fact get Martin Jones shaft of his stick, and we return to even strength. The puck at the point bounces around, a shot intentionally wide, finds Derek Stepan behind the net as Martin Jones slides to the other post. Stepan plays it back the opposite way. Lorentz banks it in off the hip of Martin Jones, and it's 1-0 Carolina. Not only is this Steven Lawrence's third goal of the season, this is Derek Stepan's 500th point. Shortly after the goal, though, the Flyers really start controlling the back half of this period, and they get a great chance here. Derek Brassard driving the net, kind of gets bumped a little here by Vincent Trocheck, but not towards, not to. This is a weird play because Brassard, as the puck, goes to the other side, knocks Frederik Andersen over. The rebound is potted in by Cam Atkinson, but the goal is waved off. If Brassard, who was claiming that he was shoved into Frederik Andersen, actually, in fact, was, he would have actually ended up behind the net because that's where Trocheck tried to hit him from. Brassard didn't really break his stride or his line towards the net at any point, and just kind of bowls Freddie over. So this is an easy one. No challenge from Philadelphia. The goal is waved off. But right after, man, this was a gift from Frederik Andersen. A puck just kind of gets put up onto him in the zone. He mishandles it, plays it right out. Can't really come out and play the puck. It's just that far away from him. Brassard comes in, shoots it over the right shoulder of Frederik Andersen and below the bar, and we have a 1-1 game. And that's how the second period would end, a 1-1 score heading to the third. And the third period was quiet. It was a lot of back and forth, a lot of neutral zone play, and a very, very quiet. The refs put away the whistles. There were no penalties. There was really nothing going on until the final minutes of this period. Ivan Provorov plays a puck up the boards kind of haphazardly. Didn't really need to. Had a lot more time on this play than he realized. Puck comes back to the point. Trocheck kind of turns, looks, doesn't really have anybody around him. Throws an innocent wrist shot, and it's tipped by Jordan Martinook over the shoulder of Martin Jones below the bar, and it's a 2-1 Carolina lead. This is a great example on this goal of just making it simple, and that's what they did here. Just a simple play, throw the puck at the net, hope for a deflection. They did a lot of this against Martin Jones in this game, and this one really did pay off. Martin Jones heads to the bench with 2:40 left in regulation, and after the Flyers try to generate a few chances but really don't have any luck, Sebastian Aho down the ice scores an empty netter. It's 3-1, and that is how this one would end. Canes win 3-1 and close out the season series with the Philadelphia Flyers. So let's get on to some player analysis. Let's start off with the good. He was highlighted on the ESPN broadcast right off the hop by Ray Ferraro. Sebastian Aho, just another terrific game from him, just controlling the puck. Each zone, he's a complete all-around player. Gets the dagger in this one after some depth scoring, really helped the Canes win this game. And yeah, just this team keeps chugging along. Frederik Andersen, solid again. Didn't have to face grade A opportunities in this game, but he stopped everything besides the Brassard goal was exemplary from him. He usually, I think I saw a tweet, it was he makes one mistake per game, and it's only one mistake per game. He does not make two, he does not make three, he does not make zero. He makes one each game, and it was the Brassard goal. But other than that, a fantastic outing from him yet again. And last but not least, his 500th point in the NHL, Derek Stepan was excellent in this one. Constantly around the net, constantly generating chances on that fourth line with Kotkaniemi, and I'm not sure who else was playing with them. Lorentz, of course. But yeah, just a solid game from him all around. Just excellent, really. There was, I think I've said this before, but the signing of Derek Stepan, I was really worried of his tenure in Ottawa last season. He was not good, injured. Now, Ottawa's not a very good team either, but I thought Derek Stepan was at that point pretty washed. And he's been much like all the free agent signings that this team has brought in this season, just a fantastic surprise. He has come in and out of the lineup on several occasions. It doesn't seem like he misses a beat. It doesn't seem like it affects him at all. This is a guy who I feel like is going to have a tremendous playoffs for Carolina. In the average category, I had none. I thought everybody had a really good game in this one. I didn't really see anybody who was having a bad one. And for the Flyers, I don't even know who you highlight in this one. Like, Brassard scored the goal for Philadelphia, but he didn't do anything else in this game. And it's like, do you give credit to Martin Jones? Because, like, the team in front of him was just completely invisible for 90% of this game. So I'm going to give this one to Martin Jones, just because he played a solid game for once. Anyways, guys, that's going to wrap it for this one. As always, remember to like the video down below and hit that subscribe button. That helps me out considerably. And I will catch you guys on the next one for the game tomorrow against the Pittsburgh Penguins.